Hey everyone, welcome to a new video. In this video we're going to be making this awesome magnetic switch lamp, so stay tuned to see how this all came together. Our process starts with the raw stock that we're going to use for this, and here I'm just kind of offering it up to the C channel aluminium that's going to be where our LEDs mount onto. So basically I'm just trying to see what the proportions are like and what kind of thickness I want to mill this down to. I'm famously terrible at identifying materials, so I have no idea what this is. It's some hardwood, it's dark, looks nice, and I had just about enough of it to make this project, so that's all that really mattered for me in the end. A little bit of milling, planing, and sanding, and we have my blanks ready to work with. One of the first challenges was to figure out how to embed the C-channel aluminium in the piece of wood. So I kind of had a rough idea, but by a bunch of luck, it happened that I had a router bit that was the exact same width as the C-channel, and I could set the depth just nicely to be about the 6mm height of the C-channel. So I was able to mill that in, and remarkably, it fit incredibly well with very, very little fettling needed. Now I said it was a good fit, but it is a very tight fit. So the very bottom of the C channel has kind of a tiny lip at the end of it, which means that it's a very, very tight kind of push fit. And as I pushed it in the length of the piece of routed out slot, I did have to use a hammer and I had to bash it a bit, so I kind of deformed the end of it a little bit, unfortunately. I think if I was doing this the next time around, if I made another one of these, what I try and get is one of the router bits. I don't exactly know what they're called. I know you use them, you can use like them for cutting dovetails or just undercuts basically, and I'd probably chase the entire slot with one of them down at the very bottom so that I can loosen out that bit. What I did was I did run a chisel down the inside of it to try and give me a little bit of extra space. It didn't work super well, but a little bit of brute force and it got in there. I was planning to have this as like a slot fit where I'd glue it in place. Turned out that that was absolutely not necessary because this is very much a compression fit and it is never coming apart again after the amount of abuse that I put it through. The next step was to cut some 45-degree miters so that the two pieces can slot together to make a nice right angle. I did this so that the C channel would match up perfectly at a 90-degree angle with the material that it's embedded into. I figured if I tried to cut them separately and then embed them afterwards, I wouldn't get the angles just right and it wouldn't be consistent. So by cutting them together, you mitigate that and you end up with these really nice matched pairs. Okay, we've made a bunch of progress on stuff here. We've got uh, our sort of C bracket finished. So it's gonna sit like this. This will screw down on top like that. And then inside my little channel in here, we'll have our LED strip light stuck down. A little notch there for it to come through. Drill a hole here. It'll come out into this cavity that we've milled out. And then, all of the wiring will be in there. A little base piece we'll screw on just to hide all that, which would be quite nice. And then across here we'll stick in the little light diffuser. And yeah, so it'll go like that. Obviously flip this over. So the next part to do is really to start milling out the sections that we need to fit everything into it. So I've already hollowed out the bottom part here. Need to drill some holes here, screw holes to mount to this. Need to drill the hole for the cable. Need to drill a hole here, which will be for the little pull cord. I'm going to use this little brown paracord that I have here. You drill a hole there, drill a hole in the top section there of that, that'll line up with that. that's mostly it. Little bit just drilling and just making sure I can fit up everything together. I also need to mill a little slot in here, which will be for a micro switch that I have here somewhere. Where is it? Yeah, this guy. There, little micro switch. So this little switchy switch will go up under here somewhere and then get pulled by the cord, which will be wrapped around it. So that'll be what actually turns the light on and off. But yeah, I need to mill out a little slot. Switch is a little bit bigger than I liked. I also don't like that the connectors are on the back. I was kind of hoping I'd get ones that had connectors on the sides so that I could stick it up inside it, but I'm going to have to stick it on from the side. So I have to mill a slot and then sort of glue it in place. Won't be as nice, but I think it'll make it work fine. Yeah, so that's everything I'm going to do next. I think I'm going to start with drilling some holes next, and then I'm going to try and mill that little slot out. And then, yeah, then I got to measure up how much of this I need to use, start fitting stuff in place, kind of dry fit everything, and then I'll, apply some finish to all this, get it all nicely sanded and smoothed out, and then assemble it, and then that should be done. Well, actually, yeah, I'm also glossing over the magnetic toggle things that are gonna hang between it. I have some idea. I'm gonna do some wood turning, I think, for that, and embed the magnets into it, so it should be kind of cool. But that'll be sort of its own separate little piece. I want to get all this done, and then the switch will be the very last piece I'm gonna do. So stay tuned. That's what we're doing. These are the last few bits of the mechanical construction of the lamp body now. Basically just drilling some holes to run cables and for mounting screws. Also milling out the slot for the switch. And that's about it really. Once these jobs are done, that's all of the mechanical stuff finished for this, and we can move on to start doing some of the electrics and ultimately getting this all wired up and ready to go. Onto some wiring now. So these LED strip lights are pretty straightforward. It's a big long tape with a bunch of LEDs on it, and at regular intervals they've got little cut points marked on them where you can cut them to very different lengths, and then you can solder them together with wires and stuff like that. So you can make strips for whatever length you need, and then you can patch them together if you need to with wires. So I'm using the very root end of it, which has the very start of the strip, and it's connected to a nice little bit of insulated cord that has a little barrel jack connector on it, which connects up to the power supply that came with it. So I wanted to use all of that, but wanted to take advantage of being able to split that little bit of cord so that in there I could put in my own wiring that has my own little mechanical switch. So this will connect up to the power supply as is normal through the barrel jack, but then between the barrel jack and the actual strip itself is going to be my little switch, and I've had to obviously make some little extensions with wires and stuff to make that fit into the base of the lamp. Okay, we can do a first test of the electrics. Have them all just roughly put in place. They all fit. A little bit of strain relief, all works well. This is actually kind of cool. The power supply comes with a little wall has just normal kind of barrel connectors on it, but it gives you this little module that you can optionally plug in into the loop, and it's a little dimmer switch for the LEDs. So because this is going to be like a little lamp fixture, I figure I might as well use this in it because it's kind of handy. You can also use it to turn off the power completely, but obviously we're using a switch in here, so that's not going to be needed. But you can turn it on and then set the brightness, which is going to be useful because these LEDs are actually quite bright on their own. So it's all wired up. I have my little micro switch is embedded underneath here. Don't want to turn that too much because I don't want to pull this out. But if I click the micro switch, here we go. we have lights. I can turn that down a little bit. Turn it down a bit more. So yeah, you can dim the light. Very sensitive to a point, and then it goes quite bright. But yeah, I'll probably leave it nice and dim. I don't want this lamp to be super bright, but yeah, it's nicely adjustable. So there we go. That works pretty well. So next steps. I mean, wiring's done. All the frame is done. Just need to add some finish to that to make it nice, and like so you can button up the bottom with its little base piece. I gotta do the string and the little toggles with the magnets in them. So the string's gonna come up out of here, and that's gonna tug on this micro switch, and the magnets are going to be what pulls the tension onto that to hold it in place. It's just going to be another string down here with the toggle. So I guess that's the next part, is to get that working. And I suppose I can button all this up then. I can mount it all permanently, add my glue and screws, and stick this down. Yeah, I think we're getting there. This is going way faster than I thought it was going to go, which is cool. I always like it when a plan comes together. That's quite satisfying. Okay, more work to do. Let's get to it. Okay, so I've dry fit together the whole lamp. See it here? Got our diffusion pieces in place, all put together. And yeah, it works. So you can see I've got these two little lengths of paracord here. The top one isn't attached to anything, just going through the hole in the top. The bottom piece is attached inside here to the micro switch, which is super, super light. Only needs just a tiny little bit of pressure, and it switches on. And there's our light. So that's it. That's the lamp. It works. But the switch mechanism isn't finished yet, obviously. So these two cords, what's going to happen, they're going to have a little like toggle thing, like a little wooden toggle thing attached onto the ends of them, with some magnets in them. And then the idea is that it'll rest down here, and then you pick it up and bring it close to the other magnet, and then it goes whoop, and that'll be the light switch, and the magnets will hold it in place to keep it on. And then you just pull them away from each other, turn it off. Obviously these are overly long. I just cut them super long, longer than they needed to be. So this one I'll do first. So I have to make it some sort of arbitrary fixed length that'll secure into the little toggle piece, and then this one I can tune the length of it by just changing how long that is and moving where the knot is, and then cut off the excess. And that'll be the whole switch. So I got to make that next. This will be, I reckon this part's going to be quite hard. I have these super strong neodymium magnets here that I'm going to use. But I have to mill, or I'm going to use the lathe, probably machine down some round toggle things out of wood, hollow the centers out, fit the neodymium magnets back in, plug it all up back together with the cord through it, and hope that it works. Because I still don't know. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure these magnets will be strong enough to do it. I'll probably stack a few of them inside each one. But I'm not sure. I'll have to figure that out. So yeah, I guess the next part, we're going to make the rounds, the little toggles, fit the magnets in, see are they strong enough, and then yeah, figure out how to attach it all together, and then apply our finish to this, make it look nice, and that's it. Lamp's done. All right, I'm going to go do that. I turned a cylinder on the lathe out of some square stock, which will be the base for my toggles. I then take this over to the bandsaw and cut it in half so that I have two nice even matched pairs. These then need holes drilled in them for the plugs and also for the magnets themselves. A little bit of string will go through the back of the plug, which will be a much smaller diameter, and the plug will be glued in place so that it holds the magnets in place, and it also grabs onto the string so that you can use it as a little switch. Making the plugs is quite easy. Out of an offcut of the same material, turned around to the end grain, and then used a plug cutter just to cut out the two plugs, which I then freed on the bandsaw. They turned out really nicely. I was surprised that I got such a good fit, but they were actually almost a little bit too tight, and it was actually quite an effort to sort of fettle them a little bit to get them to fit just nicely. We're on to the very final last bit of this project now. So here you can see the final assembled working lamp, but it doesn't have any stain on it. So the last step we have to do is to apply some finish. So what I decided to go for this project was my kind of go-to favorite, which is a rub-on polyurethane. So very simple to make. You take regular oil-based polyurethane, you mix it up with some white spirits, and yeah, you kind of just go with your gut, a little bit of white spirits, a little bit of polyurethane, until you get to something that has kind of a thin but still a little bit viscous consistency, and then you use a lint-free rag and you just rub it on. I really like this because it rubs on really easily, it dries really, really quickly, and it gives you a really, really nice finish, but you don't have to wait for all the drying time of a regular polyurethane, which I really hate. I'm super impatient, so this works really well for me. And yeah, kind of my go-to, worked really well for this project. So here we are. This is the final reveal of the finished lamp. I'm super happy with how this project turned out. I think this is probably the nicest thing I've ever made, and it has an extra bonus in that it's functional. It brings together a whole load of things that I love, woodworking, a little bit of electronics, and yeah, it just turned out really, really well. So yeah, I'm very, very, very happy with this project. And yeah, that's it for the end of this video. Thank you all for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.